He spoke the truth, boldly, without fear, and for that, he lost his life. Not in the glory of battle, not in the heat of war, but because of a request, a shocking request, for his head. Why did the most powerful man in the region tremble at the words of a man in the desert? This is the story of the voice that could not be silenced and the power that tried to bury it. This is the fall of John the Baptist. 2,000 years ago, the desert was not just a place of solitude. It was a place of revolution, a place where the soul was stripped bare. Here, away from the corruption of the cities and the noise of the temples, a new kind of message was being forged, a message of repentance. John was not ordinary. He rejected the fine linens of the priesthood. He wore camel's hair and a leather belt. He was the antithesis of luxury. He lived on what the land provided, locusts and wild honey. He was a man who had mastered his own desires before he ever spoke a word to the masses. And at the Jordan River, he began to cry out. His voice was a pattern interrupt in a world of religious formality and Roman occupation. He called for a baptism of repentance, a washing away of the old world to make way for something or someone new. They came by the thousands, from Jerusalem, from Judea, and from the regions around the Jordan, the hungry, the broken, and the curious. They found in John something they hadn't seen in centuries, a prophet, a man who didn't care for their status, their money, or their fear. Even now, the axe is laid to the root of the trees, he warned. His message was urgent, it was sharp, and it was dangerous. He spoke of a coming judgment and a coming hope. But his most dangerous words were not directed at the crowds, they were directed at the throne. Enter Herod Antipas, a tetrarch under the thumb of Rome, living in a world of indulgence, intrigue, and immense pressure. Herod was a man used to getting what he wanted. He built cities, he collected taxes, and he maintained a fragile peace through fear. But Herod was also a man deeply troubled. He was a Jew by religion, but a Roman by lifestyle. He was caught between two worlds. The conflict began with a marriage. Herod had taken Herodias, the wife of his brother Philip, as his own, a move that violated the core of Jewish law. It was a public scandal. Most people whispered about it in the markets, but John the Baptist did not whisper. He shouted it from the riverbanks. It is not lawful for you to have her. 7 words that challenged the absolute authority of a king. Herodias did not forget. She was a woman of ambition, and John's words were a threat to her newfound crown and her reputation. She wanted him silenced, permanently, because truth, when it exposes the darkest parts of the heart, feels like an existential attack. To appease her, and to stop the growing unrest, Herod had John arrested. He thought a cage would be enough to contain the voice. John was thrown into the fortress of Machaerus, a desolate outpost on the edge of the wilderness, a place where men were sent to be forgotten. But Herod couldn't forget him. He was strangely drawn to John. He feared the man, knowing he was holy and righteous. He would go down to the dungeon to listen to John speak. He was perplexed by his words, yet he heard them gladly. He was a man divided. Then came the opportune day, Herod's birthday, a massive celebration for the lords, high officers, and leading men of Galilee. It was a night of excess, a night designed for Herod to show off his wealth, his power, and his sophistication to his peers. The air was thick with the scent of roasted meat and the pressure of social standing. Every guest was a judge of Herod's character. And then, the daughter of Herodias entered and danced. It was a performance that captivated the entire room, haunting, seductive, and perfect. Herod, intoxicated by the dance and the wine, made a rash vow in front of all his prestigious guests. He felt invincible. Ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it to you. He even swore an oath. Whatever you ask me, I will give you, up to half my kingdom. The girl went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask?" The trap that Herodias had set for months was finally ready. The answer was immediate. It was the price of her silence. The head of John the Baptist, a request that chilled the air. She hurried back to the king. "I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter." The music stopped. The king was exceedingly sorry. He knew the cost of what was being asked. He knew the holiness of the man in the dungeon. But because of his oaths and his guests, he did not want to break his word to her. He was trapped by his own pride. He feared the men more than the truth. He sent an executioner with orders to bring John's head. The sound of boots on stone echoed through the silent palace. The command was final. In the darkness of the cell, the voice was finally silenced. But the silence that followed was louder than any shout could ever be. The head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. The transaction of power was complete. John was gone. His disciples came and took his body and buried it. The desert had reclaimed its prophet, but the message was out. This story is not just a historical tragedy, it is a mirror. It shows us what happens when truth confronts the ego of power. Because truth is a fire. You can try to put it out, but the smoke will always fill the room. The voice was silenced, but the truth remained. The cost of speaking truth is everything, but the cost of staying silent is even higher. What do we sacrifice for our reputation? John the Baptist died because he would not compromise. He stood as a witness to a higher law, even when it cost him his head. In every age, there are those who speak and those who try to silence them. The platter is always ready. The choice is always ours. Will we stand for the truth, even when the world asks for our silence? The echo of John's voice still rings through the desert. Subscribe and journey with us through the untold stories of history, stories of courage, sacrifice, and the search for truth. What will you stand for? Thank you for watching. Watch again to dive deeper into the mystery.